Welcome back guys to Python test driven development. In the last video we started writing tests for our family tree methods and we completed add child. In this video we are going to complete add spouse and get relationship. So without further to do, let's get started. A few things guys I did since the last video. I made a commit on git. So the git commit looks like this: committed completed family tree add child method, right? Because we created both integration as well as unit tests. One more thing guys, I have created guidelines for all of our methods over here for add spouse as well as get relationship. One thing that we forgot to take into account is that in add child we are not supposed to add duplicate members, right? So if the member already exists in the tree, then we're not supposed to add the member again. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that in our tests as well. So this is where we left off in our last test, where here exactly here, when the tree is empty, we immediately add a member and say add child is succeeded. So what we need to do is we need to say that if we add a tree, if we add the same member again, uh, this part, then we should get child addition field, right? And the same thing goes in the integration test as well. So if we try to add one more father, then we should get child addition field because it already exists, right? So here we're going to say this. So we should get an error because obviously we haven't not created that here. So let us do that. Yep, person not found. How do we get a person not found? F3.add child zim male and mother, right? Because what it's trying to do is it's trying to find mother and it says person not found, right? So that's that's the whole reason. So what we're going to do is, so that we don't get person not found, we are going to add this child after mother has been added to the family tree. After everything has been done, this is where we um, because father here when we add zim2 we get child addition failed because father has not been found. So this is where we get child addition succeeded, right? So if we try to do the same thing again, then we should get child addition failed. So let us do that in the integration test as well. So let us get rid of this. This particular thing should give us child addition failed, right? So we'll get succeeded, right? We get succeeded, we should get failed. The reason is because mother is already there and everything else is valid, so it just added this value over again, so we are not supposed to have that. So let us change that, and what we are going to do is if name in self.family tree return child addition failed. So what this will do is this will make all of our tests pass, right? So our unit test pass and our integration test pass as well, right? Correct. So guys, with that out of the way, let us start writing code for our get spouse. And get spouse is exactly the same as add child, so we are not going to waste any time over here. We are just going to copy the unit test exactly, just a few changes there, here and there. So the first thing that happens is if tree is empty, uh, The result is that mock member will, yeah, obviously a mock member has been called. So when we first add child, a member is created, and we should not uh, get a proper value. The result should be spouse addition field, and we are going to rename this to add spouse. And the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to get a spouse addition field, right? So let me first explain to you what the how it goes. So if you see in add child, if the tree is empty, we add member and return child addition field, right? But in case of add spouse, if the tree is empty, who will we add spouse to? So we are supposed to return spouse addition field, right? So the first thing that we get is spouse addition field, and we're going to do is add spouse over here, add spouse, and this is going to be our name, our gender, and this is going to be the spouse member. So what are we going to do is we are going to do this instead: wife, female, and her spouse's name is Zim. Okay, and then what will happen is this is called with the member constructor will get called with female, right? And then the assert statement will not happen because we will not get the self.familytree.get will not give us anything because the entry should not be made, and we should get spouse addition field, right? So instead of either mother or father, if spouse does not exist, spouse does not exist, right? So in this case, let us create a fake member called spouse, and the spouse is going to be id2, the name is going to be Zim, and gender is going to be male, right? Let us call him spouse A. Then we are going to have fake spouse over here, and the fake spouse is going to be fake Zim, and the gender is again going to be male. Actually, the gender is going to be female because we can't have the same gender for spouse, right? That is another part of our guideline. So if tree is not empty, what we do is we need to see if a member exists. If not, we return spouse addition field, and then the member itself should not be part of the family tree is what we're saying. So spouse should be a valid entity. If not, return person not found, right? Let us test that real quick. So let's just comment these out for now. So if spouse does not exist, so here what we're going to do is self dot f tree dot add spouse, and we are going to we're basically going to do this, and since the tree is empty, this will again return a spouse addition field. So let's make sure the tree is not empty, right? So how do we do that? Let's just create a dummy member, right, who's going to be create fake member. We're going to call him, we're going to give him the id of 0. He's going to be a dummy member, and the gender will be male, and then self dot family tree dummy member will be dummy member. So now the family tree is not empty, right? So first thing what we're going to do is we're going to try adding a spouse, and we're going to say self dot assert equal this is going to be, this is going to give us spouse person not found, because the tree does not have a Zim member yet, right? So that's another guideline. If spouse does not exist, then person should not found. The next is the spouse exists, but the gender is not does not match up. So we're going to call this spouse B, and we're going to create fake member, and it's going to be 3. The name is going to be fake member, and it's going to be female. This should give us a person not found here. And now what we are going to do is so guys, yeah, what we are going to do here is we are going to first of all add things into the family tree. We're going to say Zim, Zim will be added as spouse A, and then we are also going to add family tree fake member is going to be spouse B, right? So what this will do is, now that we have both Zim and this tree, only when we are trying to add with Zim should we get a proper value, right? So when we are trying to add it with fake member, we should get spouse addition failed because it's the same gender. And finally, when we are trying to add Zim, then we should get success as the spouse exists, spouse addition succeeded, right? So those are the guidelines. Gender is okay. Oh right, if spouse is already married, so that's one more thing guys. If spouse is already married, we need to create another spouse. Let's create spouse C, and this spouse will already be married, and let's just spouse is equal to, let's just have it as spouse, and let's call it married member, and he's going to be a male, right? The gender is not an issue. The issue is that it can't be married. So when we're trying to add spouse through fake member, we get spouse addition failed because that's a female. When we try to add him through, let's say, married member, we also get spouse addition failed because he's married, right? Self dot family family tree married member, and we're going to say this is spouse C, and this is going to be all the cases. And finally, for gender, if everything goes well, spouse addition should be successful, right? So let's delete all of these. So what we are going to do is we are just going to quickly code that function up. We're going to call it spouse name, and can't be none because we can't have empty values. We create a member. If not family tree, then we are going to return spouse addition failed, right? Then if name in family tree, right, we're going to check this out later, spouse addition failed, right? Then we have mother, we are going to have spouse over here, and that's going to be spouse name. If not spouse, then we're going to say person not found, right? If spouse dot gender is not equal to if it is equal to member dot gender, it can't be the same gender, we are going to return person not found, right? Then since one more thing we need to check is, right, so as per the guidelines, if spouse is not there, person not found. If spouse is already married, so let us do that as well. If spouse is already married, if spouse dot spouse is not none, then we return spouse addition failed, and here as well we are going to add spouse addition field, right? Then if everything goes well, what we are going to do is we're not going to member dot set spouse, and that's going to be, of course, spouse, right? I mean self dot family tree dot, I mean spouse name, that's going to be our spouse, and then self dot family tree spouse dot name should be equal to member, right? And once we have done that, we can finally add our member, and we can say that spouse addition is successful, right? So let us test all our edge cases over here. Let us quickly try adding this again, and when we try adding this again, we should get spouse addition failed as well. Of course, this is going to give us errors, so let us quickly try to solve those errors. Yeah, additional spouse name, sorry, my bad. So if I'm correct, spouse name f3 dot add spouse should have name, gender, and then so family tree spouse name, gender. Oh right, it's supposed to be add spouse, sorry guys. So now let's see. Okay, all of our tests pass, and that is good news guys. So let us do the same thing for our integration tests as well. So instead of add child, what we are going to do is we are going to create add spouse, right? So the test is going to differ somewhat. So when the tree is empty, self dot f tree dot add spouse, and it takes in wife, how did I add child? This was always supposed to, right, because yeah, it didn't take in mother, so this had been the name. And yeah, okay, right, because it didn't have a mother, right? So we didn't set any value for mother. So in this case we need to set wife, and she's going to be a female, and the guy here is going to be Zim, and the result that we get is supposed to be spouse addition field, right? So let us clear that up. If the tree is empty, then we should get self dot, what is it, no gender. Okay guys, I think we're going to do this in the next video. Let me just look some things up real quick, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, bye.